Welcome to our ongoing breaking news coverage of the Zoe Rosenberg chicken rescue trial that has evolved into a battle over beliefs. What's radical? What's extreme? Is suffering ever okay? This trial is raising those crucial questions as the 23-year-old could go to prison behind bars for...
What would you do to save someone's life?
5 years approximately. And here she is getting arrested back in 2023. Her trial is underway. Let's take a look at the scene of the alleged crime where all of this supposedly happened. And the person who is there right now is none other than Paige Parsons Roach, our resident soccer mom. And Paige decided she was on a trip with her husband and they're just on a road trip and they decided, you know what, let's take a look at the actual slaughterhouse that Zoe Rosenberg went into and let's see what it looks like. We've never been there. So Paige is there right now. She was there a moment ago talking to somebody. I'm going to play the clip of what your interaction was that you just texted me, Paige, and then we can talk about it on the other side.
I'm videotaping your new signs because you have new signs.
Okay.
Is there anything wrong with that?
Yeah, you look like a protester.
I'm not protesting. I'm not protesting at all. There's nothing I'm protesting.
Okay.
I'm actually here just calmly. No, there's no protesting. I don't plan to do anything but show the signs. That's it. I don't think that's illegal.
No, you're fine.
I can show the signs here.
You're fine. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. You're going to call the police on me? Huh.
So let's go straight out to Paige Parsons Roach. Like I said, she is our resident soccer mom and all around just suburbanite. In fact, she hosts a show called Plant-Based in the Burbs. Paige, tell us what happened.
Well, I just happened to be in the area and I thought, this trial being on the panel multiple times, I'm sorry, I'm really shaken up because, it's not a crime to be a citizen who wants to look at signs and who wants to bear witness to the millions of chickens that are dying in this facility in Petaluma. And I was approached and said I looked like I was protesting and that I needed to leave. And I was asked to leave. And I understand. I mean, do I look like I'm protesting? I have an LA Animal Save shirt on about pigs, but I was not protesting at all. I was taking some video of the new signs that apparently have been put up, these glossy signs about their, cute little chickens. But I guess I'm in a motorhome. It's a little rattly, been on a road trip. My point for stopping by was I wanted to see this place. And what was shocking to me to see was that it's in a mini mall. And there's just restaurants and so forth. But the stench is horrible. So I walk up and I'm like, oh my gosh, in a residential area. And I wonder if residents know that right there is this air pollution coming from these dead chickens that are being slaughtered right there on the spot. And then showing these happy chickens. So I wanted to go to bear witness because that's what the Animal Save Movement does. And I participate with. So that was my point, and I'm shaking because I was asked to leave, and I was approached, and I was seen as someone who is a threat. Do I look like a threat to you? I was not being threatful. I was not doing anything unkind. I was, if anything, I was getting into some good trouble, I suppose, in a sense that I think people should know, like myself, who don't know that they're being sold a certain type of product that is not, I feel, allegedly the truth. And so I wanted to see for myself and support Zoe Rosenberg, who may go to prison for 5 years for the right to rescue animals.
I want to play the video of the location and what Zoe did. Now, here is the video going into that facility. and she went in kind of dressed as a worker, with a hard hat, and there she is. This is what she's being prosecuted for. She could go to prison for approximately 5 years. She rescued 4 chickens, and you see her doing that now. We've been talking about this. This is day 18 of the trial, which has gotten national media coverage. And so I think Paige, as a commentator who has provided analysis, somebody who describes herself as a soccer mom who has 2 kids, they're in college, one's in becoming a veterinarian herself, and she's there on a road trip with her husband. She says, you know what? I want to just see this location where all this happened. And you're saying when you got there, they threatened to call police while you were on public property?
I was on the sidewalk. So public property, yeah.
Well, I'd like to bring in Cassie
They saw me
King. Yeah, stand by for a second. I want to bring in Cassie King because Cassie is the communications lead for Direct Action Everywhere. And well, you just heard what happened. This was unplanned. I literally was getting ready to go and do the show. And Paige, who just now popped off, but she said, oh my gosh, I was nearby. I decided to take a look. And the next thing you know, they're calling the police. They said they were going to call the police. So we played that clip. Let's move on to what's happening in court today, because to me, this is all part of the culture war. Who is a protester? Who is a radical? Who is an extremist? Who is a citizen? Is it extreme to rescue animals from a slaughterhouse? Is it extreme to kill, this is globally, not one corporation, but globally, 140,000 chickens every minute? Do you feel that this trial has highlighted the culture war?
I think that people's beliefs are exactly what this trial is becoming about, because the prosecution is very much focused on whether these witnesses for the defense are vegan, whether they care about animals, whether they support animal sanctuaries, whether they support an animal bill of rights. There's so much cross-examination that is not at all about the facts that they are testifying to, or the facts of the rescue on June 13th and Zoe's actions and Zoe's intent, but about, what does Carla think when she is posting on Facebook 5 years ago, and making this very much about people's beliefs in general.
I'm just going to ask you to put both earplugs in your ear. I think we'll be able to hear you better. We're not hearing you. As well. Yes, much better. So okay. Let's talk a little bit about the culture war.
Well, I mean, we want to have the discussion with the public, and the jury is a sliver of the public, of our peers, of randomly selected people. And so, these trials are an opportunity to pose a question to a random segment of the public and have an in-depth discussion about whether it's a crime to have compassion for animals. So, we're actually okay with talking about our beliefs, and defense witnesses have been very open so far and answering these questions very honestly about what they believe, because we're not ashamed to believe that animal cruelty is wrong. We're not ashamed to believe that suffering animals deserve to be rescued and have a right to be rescued. But it's certainly a microcosm of a broader public conversation that we want to be having, and that these trials help us to have through the attention that they bring from Unchained TV and San Francisco Chronicle and outlets that are covering this.
And let me ask you, do you feel, this is what occurs to me, and we just had an interview we're going to play in a second with the second rock star. Moby has condemned this prosecution. Then we have another one, Derek Green, the lead singer of Sepultura, who has just come out and issued a statement that we're going to play in a second, saying basically this is a waste of time and waste of money. My question to you is, should people have to risk going to prison to make this point, Cassie?
We're 5 weeks into this trial. I think most people would agree this is an absurd use of taxpayer resources, and this trial should not be happening. And actually, the witness on the stand right now, Raven Deerbrook, she was a defendant in this case, and she just testified about how she was charged alongside Zoe, and she's not on trial. She's doing a deferred entry of judgment. She's demonstrating good behavior and doing some community service, and her charges will just be dismissed. And the reality is that most cases don't go to trial. Most charges, they they scare people, they intimidate people into taking plea deals. You know, Raven did not plead guilty. She did a no contest plea, so there was no admission of any wrongdoing, which is really important to point out. But people get convinced to plead guilty even when they aren't. You know, there's a lot of pressure to not go to trial. And so this is pretty unique because of the small number of cases that do go to trial, this one is exceptional. There is no, normal fear from the defense to admit what happened. There's actually extreme openness from the defense to get up there, and people who aren't even on trial are willingly getting up there and saying, I was part of this in this way. Here's how I helped Poppy, Ivy, Aster, and Azalea. Here's how I exposed the cruelty at Purdue's slaughterhouse, because we are so open about this. And so I do think people would agree that this is an important conversation to have, but they would probably rather the conversation be happening outside of a courthouse, not using so many taxpayer resources, not using up so many hours of these jurors' time. We're in our 5th week now of this trial. I think most people would agree that that is pretty absurd, and that Zoe is facing more time than a lot of people who commit violent crimes.
Well, I want to thank you. I know you're busy. You're about to get into trial, which is resuming in 15 minutes. Thank you so much, Zoe. Direct Action Everywhere's lead communications person there, handling communications and press for the Zoe Rosenberg trial, and doing an excellent job getting into major publications like the San Francisco Chronicle, which referred to it as the chicken rescue trial, which I think is very significant culturally, instead of saying chicken theft. So now what I'd like to do is get some round robin, and then we're going to talk about the second pop star who's come out and condemned this entire prosecution. Renee King-Sonnen, you are a former cattle rancher turned vegan sanctuary owner. What's your reaction to what happened to Paige this morning, who just decided, I'm nearby, I'm going to check it out, and the next thing you know, they're saying they're going to call police. And of course, we invite the company on anytime. We always say that to comment.
Listening to that, to Paige, and I was thinking, my gosh, are they ever on high alert and overreacting? Paige, a soccer mom, suburban type housewife, going out just to check on things and on the sidewalk, and they're going to attack her basically. This is really bringing a heightened sense of awareness to the public. I think it's just criminal, honestly. It's just criminal that the chickens that Zoe rescued, they were not healthy. They were horribly treated. They were sick, wounded, suffering. And, I think it was Carla that she testified that one was actually wheezing, one had an infected foot, and were all covered in filth. This wasn't this is horrible that these chickens were in these kinds of conditions. And why are we saying that that these chickens should not be rescued from this? Why are we trying as a species, as humans, why would we say that these chickens don't deserve to be rescued when they are unbelievably suffering? And for Paige to be just there on the sidewalk documenting this and trying to get some information, on Zoe and these poor chickens, it just is beyond belief.
So this is the testimony of Carla Cabral of Vet Tech, and there is what she said. Basically, that they were sick, they were listless, they were missing feathers. One had what she called evidence of bumblefoot, a bacterial infection that can be fatal if not treated. The other one had a wound on her toe. Now, I will say that the owner of the company, Purdue, denies all allegations of animal cruelty. And they have a website, corporate.purduefarms.com/responsibility/animal-care, where they talk about their animal welfare standards. Also, they've said that they're a leader in animal welfare, dedicated to the highest standards of animal care. And you can read their entire statement here on the screen. And they say DXC is an extreme group with a radical agenda. But I do want to point one thing out. They're saying no cages or crates. However, if you look at the video, okay, what's happening here? I just want to point this out. Right there, Zoe committing the alleged crime for which she is charged, rescuing these 4 chickens. What is she dealing with there? That is a crate. That's a crate in transportation. Lindsay, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, it's just showing you here that what's really on trial. Is it Zoe Rosenberg or a system that normalizes animal suffering? This is a crate right here in front of my eyeballs. I'm looking at a crate. These animals are stuffed into here. Put yourself, everyone, if you've been in a subway in New York, you know how it feels to be in a crowd. Surely people have had that experience, a stadium, somewhere. It's an uneasy feeling. Imagine being then the drawers shut over you, and God knows what is going to happen to you next. You don't know. Many of the animals, many of the other human animals around you are suffering, are bleeding, and there's no compassion. There's no sign of humanity there. So I think I would be believing I was in hell.
You're muted.
I can't hear you, Jane.
It's very interesting. I want to say that, Tiffany wants to weigh in. Tiffany Brunelli, former law enforcement investigator turned DXC member.
Yes, Jane, I wanted to say I've been to many vigils there at the slaughterhouse with DXC, and there's a little strip malls by there with a Subway and a Starbucks, and there's also a whole apartment complex there back there. I don't think a lot of those people in the apartment complex actually realize it's a slaughterhouse. They see all the trucks coming and going. But anyway, we were waiting. I was waiting with a girlfriend. We still talk about this for the vigil, the people to arrive for the vigil. And we actually met a worker from the slaughterhouse. He had he was coming over to get some lunch. He had the boots on, the rubber boots and the goggles and the hard hat. And we struck up a conversation with him, and we just felt so bad. He obviously had some cognitive issues, and he started telling us about how much he loves pigeons, how smart pigeons are. And he just really respects pigeons. And he started telling us about the little brains that he sees from the chickens in the slaughterhouse and how small their brains are. So they don't really know what's going on. And I just thought that's such an example of someone who's probably, this is a job that they were either placed in or, economically, this is the only thing they can get. Our hearts really went out to him because you could tell he really suffers from working there. He was trying to justify it. It was really heart-wrenching.
Interesting observation. And, people say, well, I don't care about chickens, I care about humans. But what about the people who that person right there on the right that has to be there experiencing that every day, every work day for several hours, presumably. I don't know. I don't want to presume, but I would assume that it's not something you do for 2 minutes and then walk away. I'm going to go back to Paige one more time because she is on the road with her hubby and a well-deserved vacation. Few people said that they got on late and they were wondering why you were so shaken. Can you just give us your thoughts before you go?
Absolutely. So, realized how close we were in the Sonoma area and took a detour over to Petaluma Farms. I had heard there were some new signs that were put up that were these happy chickens saying it's Petaluma Poultry, it's Purdue. And I thought, well, let me go check these out, right? And I walked up and I was just noticing the signs, just innocently, and a security guard came over and he said, "What are you doing? Why are you here?" And I said,
you were on public property.
Public property. I said, "I'm just taking some photos. I just saw you have some new signs." He said, "You look like an activist. We're here keeping security for activists. You need to leave. I'm calling the police." And I said, "What am I doing wrong? I'm just taking some photos." And he said, You're not allowed to be here. You need to leave now. Which I don't like getting in trouble. Let me tell you something. So I'm like kind of I was shaken up. Calm down now. But I wanted to, what I really did, which I did go live on LA Animal Save, so you can go there and see it for the Save movement, is give a vigil for the chickens, the millions of chickens. Look, we have beautiful companion animals like dogs and cats, right? Chickens are beautiful animals too. So for me, I wanted to give a vigil moment for the chickens as well, but also standing up for Zoe, because I believe we have a right to rescue. If this dog right here was stuck in the hot car and someone saw her panting and desperate, they could break it. It's the law that you can break open the window, apparently. I mean, that's what I understand to be the case, but not when it comes to seeing chickens that are sentient beings being like Zoe saw, according to what I understand. And now she's going to go potentially to prison for 5 years. She's just starting her life. So we're here in the streets of Oakland, close to Berkeley, where she went to college. She's 23 years old, had to wear a boot. To me, we have things very messed up in this society. That when I learned the information 10 years ago, really, actually in 2016, was my first vigil with LA Animal Save, and I looked at pigs in their eyes. I went, what? What is going on? And I saw them at Farmer John going into the slaughterhouse. We would give water and kindness to the pigs in the middle of the night. I would leave my suburban home at 1 o'clock in the morning. It's just not a pat on my back, but I'm just saying, the point is, once I learned the information, I said, there's got to be other people out there who do not know, like me, because it's so hidden. I buy into the propaganda of buying this expensive bougie, chicken, pig, bacon and beef and all this stuff that I was paying extra for. I had no idea what was happening, no clue. And it's designed, the system is designed to keep us in the dark, to not allow for us to see, to love our companion animals like our dogs that we rescue. This dog could have been killed, but she wasn't euthanized, and we saved her life. And, adopt, don't shop. So, yeah, to me, I was just doing something that to me I felt like was giving information. I am all about the information campaign of many campaigns. And it scared me, honestly, when he was being so felt aggressive. You need to leave, and I was like, I'm just taking a picture. What are you doing here? You look like you're, what did he say? You look like you're protesting. I look like I'm protesting. I look like I wasn't screaming. I was just a public person taking pictures. Okay, sure. So you're saying by me providing information, that's a protest? I mean, I do hope that by me providing information, it does wake people up and they see that there's how many chickens are killed per minute, Jane? How many billions per year across the world? What? Okay. Wow.
We want to thank.
That's that.
Yeah. Thank you, Paige, for bringing us the breaking news of what you experienced. And again, we invite the company on anytime. Safe travels, happy trails to you. I want to go out. Matthew's got to go in a second. Who do we expect to be on the stand? Tell us all about Raven in the short period of time you have.
Yeah, Raven Deerbook took the stand earlier this morning. The defense, I think, has been shaken up by different rulings in the case, different things that the prosecution is bringing forth. So it's never entirely sure what our final order will be for taking the stand. But we have Raven in. She's talking about doing the initial investigation and really like how she learned of the situation at Petaluma Poultry, which was from a ProPublica publication, and then how she started investigating thus far, including placing hidden cameras. And the jury was able to see a clip about a minute long of, I believe it was the moment of slaughter itself, and chickens coming in hung upside down as they go. It was a little bit unclear exactly what's happening. We haven't yet had testimony of her walking through what she says is going on there. And that's what we expect to happen this afternoon, is going further into her investigation.
All right. Thank you so much. I know you've got to go in and take notes, and we appreciate your coverage. And again, we invite the companies on anytime, the company involved in this on anytime. Now, a couple of things. I want to talk a little bit about the person on the stand. This is Raven Deerbrook, and she is a very famous animal cruelty investigator who made a lot of news. We actually interviewed her after she infiltrated a pig slaughterhouse and captured video of the pigs being gassed to death. I want to warn you, this is a warning. It's very short, but it is disturbing, but it's a very short clip. But this is what she did. This is her investigation. So let's take a quick look at it. And she is on the stand today in the Zoe Rosenberg case, so it is relevant. I will start this. Les Mitchell with a very special guest on Unchained TV, Raven Deerbrook, who has made headlines around the world with her undercover investigation.
According to legal experts and veterinarians, these gas chambers are illegal, where pigs are not just stunned, but slowly killed by asphyxiation. They're in violation of state and federal law meant to protect animals from torture. Please join me and go to stopgaschambers.org to learn how you can help.
Let's go to the beginning. This woman, knowing that the Smithfield Farmer John slaughterhouse was about to shut down, infiltrated the slaughterhouse dressed as a worker. And what she uncovered was absolutely extraordinary. It has made headlines in the New York Times. It has made headlines in the San Francisco Chronicle. It has made headlines on Wired, which did an in-depth article. And these are also linking to the video. So people around the world are seeing the video that she captured. Hidden camera in U.S. slaughterhouse shows the horror of gassing pigs. So without further ado, Raven Deerbrook, wow, tell us what you did.
Yeah, so I was aware that pigs, unfortunately, in the world have been put into gas chambers for some time now. We had good reason to believe this is happening in the United States, but we didn't have direct evidence of what was going on. The company says that these are painless devices, that workers are told that pigs just go to sleep inside. I didn't believe that was true based on the evidence from Australia, based on the science. So I went undercover at Smithfield's Farmer John to get direct evidence that the company was not being truthful and that these gas chambers are horrifically inhumane.
All right, well, let's take another quick look at what you uncovered, which is truly extraordinary. We're going to talk a little bit about the bravery that it takes to do something like this.
My name is Raven Deerbrook. I'm an undercover investigator. And while working in Los Angeles, I gained access to one of the most secretive aspects of the slaughter industry, the gas chambers used on pigs.
Wow. So how did you get? There you go. In 2 minutes, she is going to take the stand in the Zoe Rosenberg case. I wanted to bring you her history because they're going to get into it. I'm sure the prosecution is going to get into it. So, first of all, you gotta acknowledge the extraordinary heroism, because that interview was an hour long, but she goes into the fact that she almost didn't make it out of the gas chamber. She had one hand, and if she had missed that rung, she would have had the same outcome that the pigs had. Okay, the gas chamber. So, yeah, Tiffany Brunelli, your thoughts?
Yes, I'm reading. I'm keeping up to date on the X from Zoe's team, and she's already on the stand, and she's giving a lot of good information. She says how she, started her investigation there. She was doing researching.
I want to clarify. We're talking about Zoe Rosenberg on the stand in the Raven Deerbrook on the stand in the Zoe Rosenberg case. And when Zoe's talking, she's not talking about the pigs. That's something that happened a couple of years ago. She's talking about going into the chicken slaughterhouse where Zoe also went. And that's why she's a witness, because she had gone into the same slaughterhouse. Continue on.
Yeah, so she did, it looks like she did quite a bit of research before she went in. And then she went in on a Sunday dressed as an employee, and she put 2 small cameras, it looks like, in the kill room. And she said, if there's going to be any problems, that's where it's going to usually be, is on the kill floor. And she said, based on her experience, this is where there will be problems or not. And Zoe's attorney asked her, were you dead set to continue this investigation? And she said, no, it depends on what I obtained from my investigation, if she decided to continue or not. So it sounds like she's doing really well on the stand.
All right. Renee King-Sonnen, your thoughts about this particular witness in light of the fact that the previous witness, Carla Cabral, was grilled about her activism. And I assume that at some point, the prosecution is going to grill Zoe Rosenberg about her activism, quite possibly what that famous incident that got in all those newspapers, including the New York Times.
Yeah, well, Raven Deerbrook, she's on the stand today because she did something unbelievably extraordinary. She planted hidden cameras inside the very same slaughterhouse that's at the center of this trial. What she documented were pigs not just going to sleep to a lullaby. They were thrashing, they were gasping, they were screaming in carbon dioxide gas chambers that the industry calls humane. Her footage was the first of its kind, I believe, published. It got a lot of publications because I did some reading and research on it, and it was shared everywhere, worldwide, I believe. And that's why she's here on the stand, to tell the truth about what happens inside these walls. And the fact that prosecutors are trying to portray her as an extremist only proves how powerful her evidence really, really is. She risked prison to show the world the truth inside this slaughterhouse. She didn't just talk about the cruelty, she documented it every step of the way. And now she's under oath testifying. I hope that the world listens. I hope that this jury hears her. They get the correlation, because her courage is why we even know what happens behind those walls in those gas chambers.
And, one thing that occurs to me that could solve all of this once and for all, Lindsay Baker, is, and again, this particular incident concerns one slaughterhouse that Zoe Rosenberg went into, but it's really the entire industry that is also on trial here, according to a lot of observers. What's the image and what happens behind closed doors? One easy way to solve it is to have cameras, live cameras, in every facility that involves factory farmed animals, whether it's the raising of them or the killing of them. And the technology is there. What are your thoughts, Lindsay Baker?
Well, I think that would be a way for these huge corporations that are telling us that they are treating the animals as humanely, as they possibly can, that they could prove it to us that they are. But the reality is they could never do that, because it's absolutely, how do you kill someone in a humane way, first of all? And second of all, with the amount of animals that go through this slaughter line in order to provide food for the population that only is continuing to grow, is absurd. There is nothing about this that makes sense. If anything is extreme, it's the extreme stupidity, arrogance, and ability to lie to the public about what is really possible with the food chain and the food source. And also, I just have to say, when I saw that footage, Jane, I felt like I was watching a horror movie or a sci-fi movie, seeing those pigs. That looks like my puppy. He's 9 months old downstairs. It's a horror. I mean, I couldn't even imagine. And how could we say that people that are trying to bring this forward, risking their lives, putting their lives on the line, are extreme? How can we say that? Well, what is extreme is the cruelty that our culture is willing to accept.
There is a culture war going on right now in this trial, and it reflects the culture war across the nation. As some people say, oh, those animals, their suffering is different. It doesn't count. And then there's the people that say, no, the essence of all evil is that some suffering doesn't count. And then there are those who say, it's not that bad. Look, it's the highest animal welfare standards. Then there's others who say it's suffering. One easy way to fix it all, and I've got about 6 of these, okay? These are very cheap and they're very effective, and there's plenty that zoom right in. I'm officially suggesting that we propose legislation, federal legislation, that would require live cameras in all factory farms and slaughterhouses nationally, that anybody, any U.S. citizen, can see at any time. And it could be done on one website where it's all visible. Okay? And it can be done very cheaply. And why is it that it's okay for the federal government to get involved? Because the federal government subsidizes animal agriculture to the tune of many billions. The Farm Bill subsidizes animal agriculture, and it provides for reimbursements when animals suffer from bird flu or any number of issues, quote unquote, natural disasters that are getting worse due to climate change, the commodity crops that are subsidized that go into animal feed. So wherefore there is controversy about what's happening in these facilities, wherefore the technology exists for all of those facilities to be monitored live by the general population, wherefore the federal government subsidizes this industry, whereas, I think I got it the wrong way. I think that's wherefore we need to have live cameras in every single factory, farm, and slaughterhouse. That would solve the whole problem. We wouldn't have to be here. Zoe wouldn't have to go in. I mean, she's reported alleged animal cruelty. And again, we invite the company on anytime, but she's reported it repeatedly. And let's listen to her talking about how she tried to report it so many times and that nothing was done. Well, she wouldn't have to go in. Raven Deerbrook wouldn't have to risk her life if there was already a camera, if, for example, in that pig slaughterhouse.
Something has to be done. I'm going to try at least one more time. So I compiled all of my evidence of animal cruelty, all of my evidence of disease, and I reported it to several law enforcement agencies in Sonoma County and at the state level. All I received in response was a very dismissive email from the Sonoma County District Attorney's Office. And months later, a very bizarre email from the United States Department of Agriculture saying that animal cruelty and disease is apparently not their area of expertise. The animal services officers who were once my heroes did not even grace me with a response. I didn't know what else to do but to continue to rescue animals myself. And so on June 13th, 2023, I personally rescued 4 chickens. I entered the slaughterhouse partially disguised as a worker. I approached the back of a transport truck that had just parked behind the slaughterhouse gates. I opened up 2 of the crates. Chickens were packed together so tightly they couldn't even turn around. They couldn't even stand up. And I removed 4 chickens from those crates. They were covered in scratches, bruises, small wounds. They were infested with coccidia parasites. Poppy had an injured toe and a respiratory infection. Some of the other birds had infected feet. Their feet were filled with pus. I got them veterinary care, and I shared their stories with the world, asking the public to join me in calling on the authorities to finally do something to address this horrific misconduct. And you might be surprised to learn that as far as that ever so consequential night goes, that's really pretty much it as far as my part in that night.
So I want to say one more time, we are a 501c3 nonprofit. As the founder and president, I'm officially calling on legislation to ensure that every factory farm and slaughterhouse in the United States of America has cameras that are live and providing live surveillance video placed so that there's no hidden areas that can't be videotaped. This is very cheap. The technology is there, and that would end the controversy over what Zoe, for example, is saying and what a particular company is saying, what Raven is saying and what a particular company is saying. And it would also eliminate the need for the Zoes of the world to feel that they need to go into these facilities, because it would be documented for everyone to see with public access. And I would like to see legislation proposed. I'm going to work on it. What we need to do is create the legislation and then see if we can get some of our representatives in Congress to support it. What are your thoughts? Starting with, we're going to go to Texas, Renee King Sonnen.
I love this idea. I mean, if the industry truly believes, like they say they do, in transparency and claims that their practices are ethical and not, and all that, then why not let the cameras roll? The truth is, they really do fight transparency at every single turn, because they know that the public would be horrified. That's why Paul McCartney said if slaughterhouses had glass walls, the whole world, I think he said, would be vegetarian, but they would be vegan. So the world would go vegan overnight. The industry doesn't fear activists, Jane. They fear transparency.
All right. What are the other panelists' thoughts on this? Let's go to Tiffany Brunelli. Your thoughts, former law enforcement investigator turned Direct Action Everywhere member.
Yes, I love this idea, Jane. And I'm thinking, don't prisons and jails have cameras and other places that receive federal funding? So they're getting federal subsidies. Why they should have transparency. The cameras is a great idea. And I have an update from the X or the Twitter. It looks like the defense is doing a good job pointing out that it's coming up. They're asking Raven Deerbrook about, were you charged at the same time that Zoe was? And she said yes. And they're asking, kind of pointing out, why isn't she on trial? Why is it only one person? And they're saying she took a deferred judgment, which is going to be up in January. She doesn't have to admit to any guilt. And they asked her, did you get any benefits from testifying here today? And she said, absolutely not. I just want to tell the truth about what happened. But I think the defense is doing a good job pointing out that there was others involved, and why aren't they charged? They're just going after Zoe. So I think they're able to get that out.
Thank you for that update. Okay, Lindsay Baker, what's your reaction to this idea? And you are on the board of Unchained TV. So as a board member, I would need to get your approval. What do you think about Unchained TV proposing that a simple solution to this, and the technology's there and it's very affordable, is just to put cameras in every niche and corner of every factory, farm, and slaughterhouse in the United States of America?
Well, I'd say as a board member, not only do I totally support you, I will offer my help if we're going to be actually trying to work on getting this to legislation, and there's something I can help with. I would love to help, because it is so true, whether it's a elderly home for elderly people or any sort of situation, Transparency is the only way for there to be, humane treatment. And of course, in this situation, it can never be humane, as we've said before, but at least it will draw the light. It will bring a light to it. I think it's an amazing idea. So I'm all for it.
All right. Well, something has come out of this. I find that sometimes the best ideas come out of our discussions live on the air, where we replicate the format of a court TV or CNN headline news. And everybody's giving you props. Legendary speakers today. You know what? I hope you join tomorrow. I'm going to hold Derek Green from Sepultura's comments till tomorrow, because we've covered a lot of ground. So that's going to become what they call a tease in the business. Come back tomorrow at 1:00 and we will tell you what Sepultura lead singer Derek Green had to say about this case. And remember, Moby has already spoken out, and he's a music legend, calling Zoe a hero at the level compared to Martin Luther King Jr. and other civil rights leaders and people who experience jail to make a point. So this has been a really fascinating discussion. I want to thank our incredible panel for being here. I want to thank everybody watching. Unchained TV is a 501c3 nonprofit news and entertainment organization, and we need your help. You can download us for free on the phone. You can watch us, unchained.tv, and we're also on streaming networks, all bunch of them. But what we do need, because we're also on social media, is for you to share out. If you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on X, if you're watching on LinkedIn, share this out. Share. And we will be back tomorrow. So join us tomorrow at 1 p.m. Pacific for more of the Zoe Rosenberg chicken rescue trial.